Watchman of Ephraim, weigh in on this controversial subject. Where are Enoch and Elijah? Where are they today? Actually, this is a picture of the supposed picture of the Transfiguration with Moses and Elijah. You can pick whoever you want to be Moses and Elijah here. Where are Enoch and Elijah? Did they go to heaven when they died? Did Moses go to heaven when he died? Mainstream Christianity uses this transfiguration to show that Enoch, who did not see death, as they interpret, he never died, and Elijah, who was taken up into heaven, never died. And this proves the immortality of the soul, which, boy, that has to be the most destructive lie, doctrine. Man, boy, a lot of evil things come out of that. The first lie from the garden. So are Enoch and Elijah and Moses, even, as shown in this transfiguration, are they sitting on a cloud playing a harp or staring at the face of Yahweh and Yeshua? You think that'd be a little boring? God, this is boring. A guy sitting on a cloud, put his harp down. You gonna do that for eternity? Think about it. No. Revelation 5:10, among others, concerning this age, the people, the few who are called, the priesthood. He has made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth. Enoch and Elijah are dead. Moses is dead. They're sleeping. They're awaiting a resurrection. So let's examine this transfiguration event here that the mainstream Christianity uses to try to prove the immortality of the soul. I like kind of Luke's version here in this regard. Starting in verse 28. Now it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings. Was Luke using allusions here? Alluding to the 8th day. The firstborn over all creation, taking on the image of his father. Of course, they need to make the white beard because his face was altered. They need to make him have, they should have made him with a white beard here and a white face. Like the Ancient of Days, his father. This is actually witnessing the firstborn ones from the dead. The wave sheaf and the first fruits. But here are Moses and Elijah witnessing to these three here, James, Peter, and John, from the law and the prophets, confirming what he came to fulfill, or what he came to fulfill and will yet fulfill. 8 days after these sayings, or the 8th day, that it took Peter, James, and John, and went up on the mountain to pray, and as he prayed, the appearance of his face was altered, and his robe became white and glistening. And behold, 2 men talked with him, who were Moses and Elijah. I know Enoch's not here in this picture, but they use it. His translation to try to show like Elijah taken to heaven and he never died. So Moses and Elijah appears with the Messiah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his decease which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Here's the law and the prophets, confirming the death of the Messiah, the Passover lamb, the Day of Atonement, bull and goat outside the camp. But Peter and those with him were heavy with sleep. And when they were fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men who stood with him. Then it happened as they were parting from him that Peter said to Yeshua, Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here, and let us make make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. About 8 days after, and tabernacles, Feast of Tabernacles, 8th day. Probably most likely happened during the Feast of Tabernacles, or around it, or on the 8th day. They actually had to be in Jerusalem during the Feast of Tabernacles, according to the law as written by Moses, which is a shadow of the 3 harvests going up to Jerusalem in their appointed times to tabernacle with the Father. So, what happened to these 2 beings? And Moses, too. Let's throw Moses in. They're all dead. Let's go next to Hebrews chapter 11, starting in verse 5. By faith Enoch was taken away. He was translated or transported, taken away so that he did not see death. This most likely was the millions of people who died in the flood. God took him so that he wouldn't see such a disaster. And was not found because God had taken him. For before he was taken, he had this testimony that he pleased God. Okay, this is verse 5. This is the chapter of the great men of faith, the hall of faith. But let's read verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises. Talking about Enoch, Sarah here, Abraham, Noah, Enoch, Abel, verse 4. These all died. All right? Verse 13. In faith, not having received the promises. They're dead. Just like all mankind who have lived and died. They're dying. They died and are awaiting the first resurrection, the resurrection of the just, the resurrection of the firstborn ones, the sons of the resurrection who look like the Ancient of Days. Here's a good witness again to what has been imputed to the first fruit priests now. These priesthood garments are actually the garments of the sons of the resurrection, the first resurrection. Great stuff. This is why you don't wear tassels and you're not under the law as written by Moses. You're a Huios son of God, a finished product by faith from the Torah, upholding the Torah. Yeah. I have to throw that in there. Okay. What was this actually? This transfiguration? Well, Matthew chapter 17, verse 9 tells you, in this version, here a little, there a little. That's why you got to go to all these witnesses of the transfiguration to get exactly what happened here. Now, as they came down from the mountain, this is Matthew's account in chapter 17, verse 9, they came down from the mountain, Yeshua commanded them, saying, tell the vision to no one until the Son of Man is risen from the dead. It was a vision. It wasn't real. Horama, that which is seen, a spectacle. Vision, that which is seen, a vision. Thayer's Greek lexicon, that which is seen, a sight, spectacle, a sight divinely granted in ecstasy or in sleep, a vision. It wasn't real, at least not yet. They all died. Even the Messiah died. Had to be raised from the dead by the Father. Okay? Where did Elijah go when this fiery chariot took him up into heaven? The first heaven, not the third heaven. Well, Jehoshaphat was king in Judah while Elijah was taken up into heaven, and Ahab was still king over the northern 10 tribes of Israel. The kingdom was split in two. Jehoshaphat was king of Judah. And after Jehoshaphat reigned, after his reign, Jehoram came into power. Elijah was gone. But here, in 2 Chronicles chapter 21, starting in verse 12, I'm trying to make this video as short as I can. This wicked King Jehoram, who came after Elijah, went into heaven, the first heaven. God took him to some secret place on a mountain or in a valley somewhere and hid him, where he lived out his days. He took him into retirement. And a letter came from him, and a letter came to him. That's wicked King Jehoram. I'm just cutting the fat here. From Elijah the prophet, saying, no, this is after Elijah was taken into, it's the first heaven. Thus says Yahweh, God of your father David, because you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat, your father, or in the ways of Asa, king of Judah. So he didn't walk in the ways of Jehoshaphat, his father, in which Jehoshaphat, again, was the king that was reigning when Jehoram was taken up, when Elijah was taken up into heaven. But have walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and have made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to play the harlot like the harlotry of the house of Ahab, and also have killed your brothers, those of your father's household who were better than yourself. Behold, the Yahweh will strike your people with serious affliction, your children and your wives and all your possessions, and you will become very sick with a disease of your intestines, until your intestines come out by reason of the sickness day by day. So Elijah was hidden away somewhere, and he sent this wicked king a letter. He was still on the earth. He wasn't in heaven. Enoch, it is witnessed, died. Hebrews 11. Here, Elijah, still on the earth, and sometime after his being taken up to the first heaven and hidden somewhere, mountains or in a valley somewhere on the earth, he sent this wicked king a letter. So, poof, there goes your immortal soul doctrine through the Transfiguration. And Elijah being taken up supposedly into the third heaven by a fiery chariot. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27. It is appointed for man once to die. Enoch and Elijah, like all men, are awaiting the resurrection. Verse 21, 1 Corinthians 15. For since by man came death, by man also came the resurrection of the dead. Verse 22, for as in Adam all die, even so in Christ all shall be made alive. Okay? No man has ascended into heaven, but he who came down from heaven. That's another video in itself. No man has ascended into heaven. David has not ascended into the heavens. Okay? Enoch and Elijah and Moses are dead. And they're awaiting the first or better resurrection. Okay, that's where they are. They're dead. They're sleeping. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.